Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to another edition of Daily Manna with T. As you guys are tuning in, do me a favor and go ahead and let me know. Let me know if you're catching this on the replay, first of all. But as y'all are coming in, go ahead and tell God thank you and tell us one thing that you are grateful for on today. Even if you are catching this thing on the replay, hashtag that replay crew and go ahead and tell us what you're grateful for. Today, I will say that I am grateful that we serve a father who, like, he just sees us, he gets us. God, if there's anyone who doesn't misunderstand us ever, then that person is God. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful to be feeling better. Last week, y'all, I was out for the count. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. And so I am definitely grateful just to be feeling better today, for real. What's going on, y'all? Brandy, Visha, Mayani, I see y'all. We back, YouTube. We are back. As y'all can see, the title of today's message, today's daily manna, is "Don't be afraid to start over." Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. I feel like this is gonna be a multifaceted word, meaning like it's not just one of those words that relates to one area of our lives, but it is one of those words that like corresponds to like several or multiple areas all at one. And it kind of just explains like where I've been today. Today for me has been one of those days where on the flip side of on the flip side of things, on the one hand, it's been like a day where I don't know if y'all have ever experienced like those stop and start cycles in your life where it's like you make a little bit of progress and then you backtrack and then you make a little bit of progress and then you backtrack, and it just feels like even though you're exerting energy, even though you're showing up and still not getting anywhere. And so today in one area of my life, I was kind of feeling that way, feeling like, Lord, I'm trying to show up, but it's just this constant stop and start cycle. And, it's a very frustrating thing, especially when you want to advance, especially when you want to like get to your next level or your next destination in life. It can be a frustrating thing to like look at your life and you see the time moving and you're looking at this area and you just wondering like, why do I keep like tripping myself up? Like, why do I keep responding this same way? Why do I keep doing this? And you know today I was feeling the frustrations of it, and I got to a point where I was just like, I was so flustered and frustrated by what I perceived to be my lack of growth that God had to tell me. He said, don't look at the stop and start cycle as you not making progress. He told me, he says the only time that progress stops being made is when you actually stop showing up. And he told me this. He said, if you want to get to like where I'm taking you to, you cannot be afraid to start over. And I feel like this is a word for people who backslide, for people that feel like either the circumstances always put you in a position where it's like, okay, I'm making a little bit of leeway, and then circumstantially something happens, and so now I gotta start all the way over. And then am I making sense? And like sometimes like we feel the greatest urge to like quit, especially when you tired of going around and around and around on the merry-go-round. Even in your faith walk, like he was reminding me of like even like moments in my faith walk where it's kind of like I felt that same exact way, where it's like, okay, God, I'm trying to show up perfectly. I'm trying to show up in faith. I'm trying not to be afraid. But every single time, like I get thrown into the fire, like fear comes out. Or every single time, like I'm trying to like do what you say do, like I just can't get right. I used to be that person that like, thank you, Holy Spirit, for joy. That even in my wilderness, I used to operate that same way. Like to a certain degree, like I was so ready to get out of that season, and I felt so stuck that I would have these moments where I'm like, I'm gonna show up perfectly. We not gonna have no fear. Like we finna pass this test. We finna get out of this season. And when it didn't happen, and when I felt like because I failed the test that the certain dynamic or the certain cycle or the certain circumstance meant that like it lingers a little bit longer, like I would have these moments where I would kind of like bash myself, where I would literally shame myself because I felt like I just can't get right. Like I'm the reason why I'm stuck. I'm the reason why I'm not getting like where I want to get. And a lot of times, like I battled in those moments with wanting to throw in the towel. And if you guys have not yet smashed that thumbs up button, please do me a favor and smash it. I'm gonna get me some coffee really quickly. But yeah, I used to be that person where I would kind of condemn myself because I felt like it was a repeat of my childhood growing up as a kid where I felt like, man, it's just nothing that I can do right. I'm always messing something up. And I blamed myself for a good portion of that season because I wasn't seeing progress. And one day God had to, like, ask me, and he asked me this question. He said, who told you I was looking for perfection? He said, who told you I was looking for you to show up perfectly? Today, God asked me that same question. Because like I was I was sitting here and I'm looking at like my life and I'm just like, I'm tired of feeling like I have to start over. I'm tired of feeling like, I make a little bit of progress and then the progress goes out the window. And then now I'm having to like build back up and then the progress is going out like today was one of those days where I'm like, God, I'm just trying to get right. Like I'm just trying to get to the next level. I'm just trying to, it's like I have all these pep talks only to still feel like I'm still falling short. I'm still messing it up. And God asked me, he says, who told you that I'm looking for perfection? He told me, he says, your mindset is so like focused on showing up perfectly because you feel like perfection will yield you your blessing. You feel like perfection will like get you to the next level or it will help you see progress. He says, you're so caught up on perfection that you're missing the lesson. He said, you so caught up on showing up perfectly that you're missing the lesson. You're missing what this season is building up in you. Like you missing it. I remember, oh my God, this is heavy today. I remember like, that wilderness and even like I can use like where I've been now, but I'll use the wilderness for, you know, just context purposes. My dogs are snoring. If you hear sound, it's them snoring. But I remember like being in the wilderness and having those moments where I'm beating myself down because I feel like I just want peace. I'm willing to, I'm gonna say it. I didn't look at it as settling back then because I looked at it as like if I've gone without for so long, maybe I'm being too picky about what I'm believing God for. I was even willing to like lessen like, my what I felt I needed, what I felt like I was believing God for just to get out of that season. And so a lot of times, these were the internal battles that I was having with God. Like today felt a lot like that. God, I'm having an internal battle with you. Like, I don't understand why this thing keeps repeating itself. All I know is that I'm trying to get out. And so back then, God told me, he says, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking at your faith. I'm adjusting your faith, meaning I'm looking at your responses to things that happen, and that your responses to the circumstances are showing me whether or not you're ready for what I've promised you. And I'm gonna say this: readiness looks like how God tests our level of readiness, looking at our heart. Like, are we that kind of child that, the moment that God doesn't do it, or the moment that things don't pan out the way that we think that it's going to pan out, are we that child that is still seeking him, that is still, treating him the same? Or are we that child that the moment we don't get what we want, we're lashing out, we throwing whole temper tantrums? God, I quit. God, I give up. If I can be for real, like in that season, I was the one that was throwing temper tantrums. In that season, like I was the one that was throwing temper tantrums. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Yeah, I was the one like I quit. I give up. I don't want that no more. Like it's too much. Like, you know what? Let me just do something else. Like that was my mindset. Like that, and I'm not even lying to y'all. That entire season, the majority of it, that was my mindset. Like this is too much. This is too hard. I don't understand why I'm going through the same thing. If I'm showing up to what I perceive to be perfect, and I'm gonna just say this: the moment that you pursue perfection is the moment that life humbles you because your fear is it's gonna come out on display, right? And so God basically told me in that season, he told me that I was trying to like pump him, that I was trying to punk him, like pump fake him. I was trying to act and portray myself as a person who had this perfect faith. And so he was allowing for the circumstances to arise to show me that, like, you think that you have faith, but look at how you're responding. Every single time it doesn't go your way, you want to quit. And he told me, he says, giving up on the promise is the same as giving up on me. Mm-hmm. He says, me and your promise, we are a package deal. Me and the thing that like you're believing me for, we are a package deal. It's a package deal. So to reject the promise is to reject me. To reject me is to reject your promise. And he showed me, the temper tantrum me. And he says, every single time you do this because you don't get your way, or, you don't get the blessing, or whatever the case may be, like, you are showing me that, like, you're a spoiled brat. And the moment I give you something, yeah, you'll be good until you'll be good until you not. And he straight up told me, if I were to give you this apartment right now, like, you would run, you would abort mission, you would abort the work that I'm doing in your life. You would never come back. Like, he told me that. And it shifted my perspective like that entire season, and so it's like, I'm gonna say this, a lot of times when you're so focused on perfection that you're missing the fear that's within yourself, what we don't realize is that the fear is what creates the cycle. I'm gonna say that again. A lot of times, what we don't realize is when we're battling like that, a lot of times it's the fear that's within us that's creating the actual cycle. It's the fear that is within us that is, putting God in a position to where he has to give us some sort of test to give us an opportunity to choose faith and not fear. And so that was what was happening in that season of my life. And I didn't even realize it, is that God was giving me opportunities to choose faith in the mix of adversity, to choose faith. But my fear was the thing that was bringing the test, because because I had so much fear, I was failing the test. My responses to God, I was having knee-jerk reactions. I was not relaxed. I'm immediately double-minded. And so, like, today, God reminded me of like that season of my life, because this morning, like, I was really struggling. And I'm like, Lord, I'm struggling because I feel like I have to keep starting over. I'm tired of starting over. When you feel like you've already been in a season past what you feel its expiration date should have been, like, any type of length beyond what you feel you should be in, it feels like it produces more problems. And so a lot of times, like, we're not even willing to understand what God is actually looking for. And so as he was reminding me of that this morning, he said, think about every single time you've had to start over in this area. What has it done? Like, what has it done for you? What has starting over taught you? What has, because every single time I've had this test, every single time I've had to start over, like, even though it's starting over, I have not started over in the same place. If you got it, give me some fire emojis. I'm going to say that again. Even though starting over is starting over, every single time I've gone through that stop and start cycle, I have not started in the same place. I may not be at a place full of faith, but I'm not having to start in the same place. And so he started to highlight, he said, like, every single time you start over, you're taking what you learned from the previous test, from the previous assignments, and you're applying it, right? And he told me, he says, the test will end, the cycle of having to start over will end when you've mastered every single lesson that this season is designed to teach you. Yeah. Oh, man. My goodness. Yes. He said, like, it's a series of tests. And, for every single test, you're being tested on lessons that you've learned. And so every single time you have to start over, it's kind of like, you go to school. Let's just say it's high school, and you're in history class, and your teacher is teaching chapters 1 through 3. After you take that test, or even if it's math, right? That's a better example. You take the test for whatever the chapters are. Guess what? Once the test is over, you then take what you've previously learned and you apply it to the next few chapters. It's like an add-on. Same thing with like chapters, like different subjects. Am I making sense? And so by the end of like the class, you take what you call a final exam. There are a series of tests before you get to the final exam. And the final exam is a conglomerate of everything that you've learned in that class. And whether or not you pass it or fail it typically determines if you will have to repeat that class. So it's kind of like faith wise and spiritually, the same thing happens to us in the many different areas where we're believing God for. Where to us, it's like I keep having to start over, start over. It's just kind of like I'm not really making progress. I'm making progress, but I keep having to start over. And for us, when we're already ready to get out of it, we start feeling like maybe I just need to quit. Maybe I just need to throw in the towel, because we don't understand it from God's perspective, that even though to us, starting over means we're still bound to that season or bound to that circumstance, we can't see it from God's perspective that every single time we go through those cycle of events, it teaches us something that is preparing us for the blessing, something that is preparing us for where He is taking us next. Am I making sense? And so today, like God told me, He says, the only time that progress is not being made is when you choose to not show up anymore. It's when you choose to say, you know what, because I had to start over, I'm not starting over anymore. And so I say all of that to say that many of us are feeling that same exact way. Whereas like I'm tired of going through these same set of events, every single day, every single week, every single month, every single paycheck period. I'm tired of going through the same things over and over and over again. Ask yourself the question, instead of focusing on the time spent in the season or how many times you've had to go through the cycle and start over, ask yourself, what have I learned along the way? Ask yourself, what have I learned along the way? So God asking me that question like this morning when I'm dealing with like the frustrations of feeling like I keep having to start over, it put it into perspective. And it's like, you know what, Lord, I'm so grateful, that like I have been learning things. I'm not having to start over in the same place. And every single time I have to go through this cycle again, it's like I start from a stronger like position. And God told me this. He says the beauty about the test that many of us go through is that tests don't last forever. The class has to eventually end, which means you get to shift to the next level. Yeah. Hey, Alyssa. He says the beauty about it is that the test does not last forever. Every class has to end, and after the end of every single class comes a period of elevation, which for us looks like it comes a period where we actually get out of it what we were actually expecting. So that is today's word. Don't be afraid to start over. I understand the frustrations of having to start over, but the moment that we really stop showing up is the moment that we've really lost. Yeah, I'll say that again. The moment where we stop showing up, that in itself is the moment where we've actually lost. And so, if this is your word, can you just tell God thank you? I pray that this reached whoever needed it in this exact moment. But yeah, that is it. Yeah, that is actually it. Don't be afraid to start over. The seed number for those people that feel led to sow is 2911. I keep hearing that number. I don't know why God has not been giving me any other number, but that is the number of what I hear. So to those of you guys that feel led to sow, the ways to sow are pinned in the description of every single video. Pass the test, point blank, period. Pass the test, point blank, period. Even if you say, T, I don't have 2911 to sow, you sow whatever it is that you feel led to sow. But that is it. That is it. That is it. That is it. If you need to be sown for, now's the time for you to speak up. We still have our Amazon wish list for those people that would like to bless us via that. But that is it, y'all. I can't add nothing else to that message. I can't take away anything from it. That is, yes, welcome all newcomers. That is just it. Listen, I feel like God wants me to pop up on TikTok in a second, so I'm probably gonna pop up on TikTok. If you guys are not following us on TikTok, please go ahead and uh, um add us on TikTok. First of all, ThoughtsbyT is the name, and let that be it. If you can sow for God's Plan Apparel Visha, just label it God is faithful, or you can type it in on the screen, God is faithful. But that is it. I will be live later on tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So it's gonna be on TikTok, and that's it. As always, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you catching this thing on the replay, please just go ahead and just hashtag replay crew. I've been enjoying seeing those of you guys that come back for the replay. And so that is it, y'all. I love y'all. I'm rooting for you guys. And so till next time, y'all.